Hello, my name's Tom Stapleton, and I'm the Executive Director of the Wakefield Community Access Television. And what I'd like to do today is introduce a number of people that we have here, and we're going to be talking a little bit about things that are going on in the Wakefield school system. But first of all, I'd like to introduce Dr. Kim Smith, to my right, who is Superintendent of Schools. And then we have Rich Metropolis, who is the principal of the Wakefield High School. And then we have Maria Serrao, and she is the Director of Facility and Transportation for the Wakefield High School system. And some of the things I want to talk about today, first of all, we had a school committee meeting on March 8th, and a situation came up where Dr. Smith said that she had to go to a meeting today with the Commissioner Mitchell Chester. And I'd like to know if you could give us a little bit of information about that.
Sure. So I did talk about it at the school committee meeting, and actually I'm seeing Commissioner Chester twice this week. I saw him on Monday at the Department of Education, and I did a presentation on behalf of the Wakefield Public Schools with this group of superintendents, and it was around educator evaluation and some really innovative work that the Wakefield Public Schools are doing, and some really, really exciting work. And I'll humbly say, I think they were all pretty blown away, and it was very, very exciting. I'm so proud of Wakefield. And the commissioner several times, in this very lengthy meeting, said, he'd say, I need to keep going back to that Wakefield idea. That is really stretching my thinking, and and later in the meeting he said, but Wakefield has got an innovative idea. So of course, I'm beaming with pride, as you can imagine. So we had a great meeting, and that was yesterday. And then this Friday, March 11th, I will be sitting on a panel with him at the Massachusetts Music Educators Association conference. I'm formerly a music educator, as you know, and so I was invited to speak on a panel with the national president of music educators in the United States, Mitchell Chester, and myself, to talk about educator evaluation for music educators. So, yes, so twice this week, Dr. Chester and I are sitting together.
That's a good feather in your cap.
Yeah.
But we do have a concern here, and it was brought up at the school committee meeting. And as a matter of fact, school committee member Tom Markham was a little concerned about your longevity here.
Oh.
He does not want to see you go away.
So he did joke about that, but anyone who knows me knows that I am completely committed to the Wakefield Public Schools. I am not going anywhere. So no matter how hard anybody tries to pull me away, this is where I will be.
Okay, you heard it. It's on. This is twice
it's on
now.
tape.
This is twice.
You got it. No question in my mind.
That's great.
Thank you, Tom.
Because everybody loves you anyway, so you do no wrong. So,
well, I love my Wakefield.
No pressure, though. So maybe we can move to you, Rich. Maybe we'll give you a little synopsis about, I know you've been here for a couple of years now, right?
Yeah, this is my second year, going into my second year as principal of the high school, but I've worked in Wakefield since the 99-2000 school year. I started as a teacher in the history department, and worked as a teacher exclusively for 4 years, and then moved into the role of teacher and department coordinator for the social studies department for about 7 more years. And then from there, I ended up taking a position to be a school administrator in a different district, but have since come back 4 years after that position to become the principal at the high school.
Okay.
And may I just interject that when you have great talent in the Wakefield Public Schools, you might let them get away for a short period of time, but you make sure you get them back.
That's very nice of you to say, Dr. Smith. I appreciate it. It's very nice.
Well, I know that you were involved in some of my younger children, too, so I had mentioned to them that you were the principal. I said, that's great. So
thank you, Tom.
They have your support.
I appreciate that.
And Maria, can you give us a little update on how things are going with you? You're fairly new right now, and you have a huge job, a huge undertaking here. Maybe you could explain to people a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I was pleased to join the school system in July of 2015, so I'm still in my year of firsts. And actually the year of firsts may continue into my second year of seconds in firsts. My background is both corporate and higher ed, so I'm pleased to be able to bring all of that experience here to the public school system. in Wakefield, thanking everyone for a very warm welcome. What I can say is no 2 days are alike here in Wakefield, and that's a good thing. I've been so impressed, not just with the dedication and the commitment of the professional staff. Certainly working for Dr. Smith is a great opportunity each and every day, but the students, the staff, the parents, the entire community really supports the Wakefield Public Schools, and that right there is a huge endorsement of what goes on in the school system and in the community both. So yes, we have challenges, but we have so many opportunities as well. So I'm happy to be here.
We're really so pleased to have this position, number one, because this is a new position for the Wakefield Public Schools, having a Director of Facilities and Transportation, someone that sits at the executive team table. And then number two, we're really very, very fortunate to have found someone of Maria Sorreo's quality to fill that role, and never have to worry about anything having to do with facilities or transportation, because I know it's covered, and that's really important. And I can focus on teaching and learning, which is the central focus of my work. So.
I would like to mention, though, I have this paper here. I want to kind of show people. Lovely superintendent. Oh. Dr. Kim Smith calls Cuba Trip unforgettable. And not too many people have been visiting Cuba too often. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. The reason I love this picture so much, and it made it into the newspaper, is I'm with 3 fifth grade students, and these are 3 fifth grade boys that I posed with. And this little guy next to me was a really mischievous little troublemaker, which is why I loved him so much. And it actually, it's funny, one of the big takeaways is kids are kids everywhere. I mean, I had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with school-age children, from the littlest ones, early childhood and kindergarten students. We spent time with elementary and middle school students, high school students, and of course our high school students were just like our kids at Wakefield Memorial High School, and then some Voc-Tech students and college-age students that went to the University of Havana, and it was amazing talking to the students and their dedicated teachers, and just like I said, kids are kids everywhere. But we were among the first 1% of American citizens that have interacted with Cuban people in this way in 50 years. So it was really an intensely emotional experience from that standpoint. I was so happy to be there, and happy for us to get to know each other. And I've mentioned a few times that Cuban people are just this incredibly proud and resilient and beautiful people. And we traveled on a people-to-people visa, so it was like a full immersion experience with the Cuban people. And it was pretty amazing. The title that Mark Siddell wrote was unforgettable, which is true, and really, truly a magnificent country, and magnificent people. And it's really great to see the open communication lines between the United States and Cuba begin to emerge. And it's a great future ahead. I'm very happy to have been there when I was, because it is absolutely going to change so rapidly. You can already see the beginning of the change, but right now, when I was there, it's still literally frozen in the 1950s. It's incredible. I did not have access to my cell phone or an internet connection or a computer for 5 days, which was unsettling on one hand, but really fantastic in another way. It just was like, wow. It was like life as it used to be, I guess, and to see the cars driving around in the streets. The 1957 Chevy. Yeah. Well, that's one of the things the Cuban people do and have done so well, is recycle everything and repurpose everything, and that's just part of their culture. And but it was fantastic. Thank you for asking about
it. Was it really involved trying to get over there? I mean, what was the procedure there?
It is quite involved. We were fortunate to have the company Education First, EF. I think a lot of schools and school districts work with them, and they helped put together this group of superintendents and assistant superintendents, both active and retired. That's who I traveled with. There were like 22 or 23 of us that went together on this people-to-people visa. And I do like to mention, and I think it's important to mention, that I went at my own expense. Yes,
that was.
I made sure that I was very clear about that. But we went and just had just an incredible experience from an educational standpoint, from a cultural standpoint, and just from a people standpoint.
Was there a language barrier there?
So yeah, there was, in that it's a Spanish-speaking country. I do not personally speak Spanish. We did have a guide with us that could translate. But I guess maybe a takeaway too that I had was that it is interesting how in the human connections with people, that language is less of a barrier than you would think it would be. And I had many wonderful interactions with people where both of us were kind of struggling a little bit with language, but definitely connected around what we were trying to say to each other. So that was really neat. And then, of course, as a musician, the musical experience was fantastic. We got to see some art, and I'm also a great lover of baseball, and Cuban, that's their national sport, and got a chance to see the oldest baseball park in the world is in Matanzas, which is right a city next to Havana. So it was really interesting.
Well, boy,
thank you for asking.
It's a great trip. Like you say, I think more people will take advantage of that down the road.
Yes, I think that they've already opened up the airlines, I think, all around the country, and direct flights, and so the time is coming in. President Obama will be visiting this month, and he is the first U.S. president to visit Cuba since 1928 to 29.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got there, and we got there before the president.
There you go.
Well, notch.
There you go.
Well, Wakefield is important.
Well, it is very important, no doubt about it.
Now it's on the map. Well, that's fantastic. I'd like to change the subject a little bit and go to a little bit about, as everybody knows, there was a presentation a couple of times with DoorWhittier Architects with respect to what to do with the high school. And that's what it was. It was a presentation with a number of different options available. And I'm wondering if we could go and maybe have all four of us have a little conversation about how that turned out.
So, I would say that we had the opportunity to work with DoorWhittier architectural firm in a pre-feasibility study focus. They were there to examine the building and do an analysis of what works, what may need some work, and then they also took into account some of the school community's voice on what we think would be kind of the best possible facility moving forward for the teaching and learning that we're trying to do in the building and as a school community. So it was great to have kind of the partnership of not only the experts in terms of a building mindset and what they know needs to be either changed or updated to suit any number of laws, and obviously the accommodation of mechanics that don't necessarily work anymore or have made their lifespan and pushed the limits, but to also include parents, students, faculty members, school administrators, and district administrators in coming up with, again, what would make the most sense for moving forward, and that's where some of the options that they generated came from. A lot of the input from that working group in what they termed visioning sessions for what we thought would be the best possible outcome for moving forward.
Does anybody want to talk about some of the options briefly?
You bet. So I think it's important to say, too, that the PBC commissioned the feasibility study is the first step in moving forward in the analysis of what could be. And so the options were presented, but they were really more presented as possibilities of suggestions that we could perhaps consider moving forward. So it's important that we keep focused on, there's been no decision made on how it will look or when it will be built or where it will be built. And it really focused on the great, I'll touch on Rich's point, on the great combination of student feedback, parent, community, administration, town leaders as well. It was really a great process moving forward and was really meant to be very inclusionary in terms of trying to imagine the possibilities of the future. So moving forward, it really looked at the existing conditions, yes, but of combining teaching and learning and where will education be, not just tomorrow, but for many future tomorrows as well, and to build a facility that will be able to support the vision educationally for the students of Wakefield.
So and I think what they presented to us in terms of like kind of almost like a sequence of ideas, and
Sure.
please jump in.
Possibilities, yeah.
Right.
Possibilities.
You know, one would be, okay, so what if we addressed, kind of brought the existing building up to code and added a new science building or suite, if you will, to have some 21st century science labs. You know, like what might that look like? What might that cost? Is that possible? And then I recall there was another one where they just talked about a renovation of kind of on the same footprint, you know, and what that kind of phase. And one of the things that's very difficult about doing that is that students have to still learn in the building while you're under construction, so it's like a multi-phase plan. And then they talked about kind of a combo renovation and new, and then they talked about, okay, what would happen if the old school remains standing, the kids are in it, and we build a new school next door, pretty much across the street on what currently is Walsh Field and the baseball field, a new facility, what that might look like, what that might cost, and while school is still in session, then you ultimately knock down the old school and move to the new school. So it's kind of gave us a sense of what is possible after doing the site studies. Is that
Yep, and they had any number of kind of potential costs that are involved in any different type of project that you have. And some of those projects would potentially be in partnership with the Massachusetts School Building Authority, depending upon whether they would accept a statement of interest that we would want to generate and submit to them, showing that not only does our building have needs based on clearly it being out of code in certain respects, or the mechanics being outdated in other respects, but also the needs of the educational content, our programming, and what we feel we would need in terms of a building to support that for not only, as Maria said, today, but also further on in the 21st century.
Can you talk a little bit about the NIASC Commission, the accreditation process, and why this is important in the accreditation process?
Sure. I mean, overall, we're part of, like many schools in New England, we're part of the New England Association of Secondary Schools and Colleges, and we are evaluated. We self-evaluate, essentially, as well in a 10-year process, and we were recently accredited, or there was an accreditation visit back in 2011, and they did find that because of our outdated facilities, specifically around science labs and a couple of other issues with the mechanics of the building, that our accreditation is in a warning status, but what we can do to rectify that is continue to come up with plans for upgrading our facility, or potentially expanding and exploring building new facilities to support, again, the teaching and learning that's going on. So
I think both Rich and I would say that it's extremely important that we look at this, and this is why this is happening now, because from an educational standpoint, when you look at the accreditation process, if you're put on warning, now we were put on warning specifically because of facilities considerations, ADA compliance, an outdated HVAC system, science labs that don't meet the specs of the current day 21st century science labs. They also put you on warning for curriculum, even if your curriculum is top shelf, which ours is, because of the link between facilities and your ability to deliver
to support that curriculum.
Right. So it really is a push for us in Wakefield to say, if we really want to deliver 21st century curriculum that also provides students with the career and college readiness that we're looking for, we really need to have a state-of-the-art facility to support that. And I think as we look at the Galvin Middle School and our cohort of students that are coming from that beautiful, incredible school and place for learning with project-based rooms and top shelf science labs and technology and 3D printers, and they're coming to Wakefield Memorial High School, and I think both Rich and I will tell you the instruction here is second to none. Students are getting a great educational experience, but there's always that sort of limiting factor of what we may or may not be able to do based on the facility that we're working with. So I think we're pretty passionate about bringing Wakefield, I mean, in every way, just even talking earlier about how proud I am, putting Wakefield on the map. We are fully committed, Mr. Metropolis and I, to making sure that our students at Wakefield Memorial High School are always listed as among the top 5 or 6 high schools to attend in the state, and that's what we're striving for, and we're putting Wakefield on the map every day, but we need the facility to support that. So this is where this becomes very, very important to us.
Well, it certainly does, and I do want to give some kudos to the Permanent Building Committee. They did a great job with the Galvin. They really did. They worked hard, and there's some dedicated people there. And they were here at the school committee meeting a while back, presenting there, and we've got some great people there.
Sure do.
I really do.
Absolutely, and they came in on time and under cost. And that's impressive for the size of that project. That is really impressive. And Maria has worked very, very closely with the PBC. I had the great opportunity to work with Joe Bertrand around the designing of the auditorium and theater there, which was really exciting. But
I love that place.
All of their passion around that is incredible. And I can say the very first time I walked in to the new building, I had a visceral reaction. It was so emotional because of what this community has done to support the children. And I always go back to this summer. I was at the festival downtown, and one of the first parents I talked to walked by and said, Kim, what about that Galvin? Oh my gosh, it's so wonderful. And she said, this is a community that cherishes its children. And I do think that it is very symbolic that the energy and passion around making sure we have first-class facilities for our kids. It just says so much about how much this community cherishes its children.
And that's a good point, too. And a lot of the things that people take for granted now that they've been completed is, don't forget, you did Landrick and Field over, Beasley Field, you added 2 new fields at the Galvin. I mean, this is like a campus, in my opinion. And I really get the impression that people who come to Wakefield or who live in Wakefield, especially young people as their kids are growing up through the system, I'm just thrilled to be here. And I mean, Wakefield is really a great town. I know I'm a little prejudiced, but I put 5 kids through the system, and they all did well. So I will never say anything bad about this Wakefield school system. They did really good, but it's really exciting, and to think about the high school down the road and so on like that's another exciting thing.
And if you think about community gifts, you mentioned the athletic fields, which has just added just another dimension of the experience at Wakefield Memorial High School. But we really should give a shout out to the Center for Performing Arts and the Savings Bank, who, unlike anywhere I've ever seen, just took it upon themselves to fundraise, and these people worked incredibly hard, and then the Savings Bank stepped up, as they always do, to support good things for children, and created the Savings Bank Theater. And just in the recent weeks, the theater group, for the first time in 10 years, moved on. What a great success for the kids. But none of that would have been possible without a quality theater for the students to work in and learn the lights and the sound and the how to do stage set design and all of that, which is now possible because of what the Center for Performing Arts did for our students. So it really, everything has been a community effort, and really this high school feasibility study and visioning sessions were also about a community effort. I hope there'll be a lot of excitement around it, and as we move forward to next steps. So on March 22nd, we will be taking a vote at school committee on the language around putting in our statement of interest to the MSBA, the Massachusetts School Building Authority, and that really is that next step. And Rich and I are meeting with someone today to talk about the educational planning part of that statement of interest, and we're really, really excited.
Well, it's definitely something that I'm really thrilled about myself, and being involved like I am in town. It's just exciting to see unfold. But I've got a few more minutes left here. I do want to change the subject a little bit and talk about some of the students here in Wakefield High and middle school and so on like that. Typically, the media has a tendency to present a lot of negative vibes about just about everything. And I know I'm in the media business, but that's not my job. But I want to talk about some positive stuff. I do have some students that are involved in what they call Rotary Interact. And what that is basically, it's like a Rotary, but only for students in high school and middle school. And they are just fantastic. It's just wonderful to be around them. They have the Youth Action Team here in Wakefield, which is part of Wake Up. Another great bunch of students there. And then we have our Student Advisory Council. And they come before the school committee meetings and present things that have happened from time to time. So what I'm trying to say is I think it's just wonderful, the students that we have here. And it's great to be around the youth. And they have basically no fear. As you get older, you develop fear, but they haven't developed that yet, and that's what I feed off of. So we've got a few minutes left. Do you have any stories that you might be able to?
Well, interestingly enough, we have a late start today, or not a late start, but an early release today. So we have our entire student council body, which is a good number of students, will be out in the community giving back, volunteering their time, sort of organized by the student council officers and advisor. But that's just, I mean, that's one example of an organization. I would say that overall, one thing that I'm always so impressed by, and I hear a lot of feedback on, is how respectful our students are in any given setting, how comfortable they are in speaking with adults and one another. Yeah, they may not necessarily have that fear, but I think that there's always maybe a little intimidation or anxiety for a student who is maybe anywhere from 14 to 18 years old to have to interact with adults. And I feel like our teachers are doing a great job, parents are doing a great job in ensuring that our students feel comfortable in that setting, that they are able to ask for things that they have questions on, request things. Not only that, but just share their thoughts and ideas on what's important to them. And I think we're finding is what is important to them isn't necessarily just about themselves. I'm so proud of our students because they organize on their own. So yes, we have a student council, and yes, we have the youth action team, and all of these kind of organizations that are structured. But our students organize as well on their own. So we have a group in the school called the Academic Advisory Council. It's essentially all student run, and they help to influence focus on our program of studies. They reach out to members of their class and other classes to get some ideas for what could be some of the programming that we have in our curriculum. They also provide valuable information to our incoming 8th grade parents and students about what classes could be like for those kids coming in their freshman year and beyond. So I am always so impressed, yes, with the organization, but also just how every student carries themselves, conducts themselves within our building and beyond in the community. They really are a confident group, but they also are, I think, thoughtful enough to know that they are speaking with an adult, and they do so in a way that is candid yet polite, and it's just really a great thing to observe and hear about from my perspective as the principal.
Well, we're going to have to wrap it up. I've got about 30 seconds left, and I just want to say this has been a great conversation. We should probably think about doing this every once in a while to update people and things here. So thank you all very much, and onward.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks,
Thank
Tom.
you.
I appreciate it.